Welcome to the Freshwater Seas production of The Autocrat of the Breakfast Table by Oliver Wendell Holmes. Performed by Robert Bethune. The Autocrat's Autobiography. The interruption referred to in the first sentence of the first of these papers was just a quarter of a century in duration. 2 articles entitled The Autocrat of the Breakfast Table will be found in the New England Magazine, formerly published in Boston by J. T. and E. Buckingham. The date of the first of these articles is November, 1831, and that of the second, February, 1832. When the Atlantic Monthly was begun, 25 years afterwards, and the author was asked to write for it, the recollection of these crude products of his uncombed literary boyhood suggested the thought that it would be a curious experiment to shake the same bough again, and see if the ripe fruit were better or worse than the early windfalls. So began this series of papers, which naturally brings those earlier attempts to my own notice and that of some few friends who were idle enough to read them at the time of their publication. The man is father to the boy that was, and I am my own son, as it seems to me, in these papers of the New England Magazine. If I find it hard to pardon the boy's faults, others would find it harder. They will not, therefore, be reprinted here, nor, as I hope, anywhere. But a sentence or two from them will perhaps bear reproducing, and with these I trust the gentle reader, if that kind being still breathes, will be contented. It is a capital plan to carry a tablet with you, and when you find yourself felicitous, take notes of your own conversation. When I feel inclined to read poetry, I take down my dictionary. The poetry of words is quite as beautiful as that of sentences. The author may arrange the gems effectively, but their shape and lustre have been given by the attrition of ages. Bring me the finest simile from the whole range of imaginative writing, and I will show you a single word which conveys a more profound, a more accurate, and a more eloquent analogy. Once on a time, the notion was started that if all the people in the world would shout at once, it might be heard in the moon. So the projectors agreed it should be done in just 10 years. Some 1,000 shiploads of chronometers were distributed to the select men and other great folks of all the different nations. For a year beforehand, nothing else was talked about but the awful noise that was to be made on the great occasion. When the time came, everybody had their ears so wide open to hear the universal ejaculation of "Boo!" the word agreed upon, that nobody spoke, except a deaf man in one of the Fiji Islands, and a woman in Peking, so that the world was never so still since the creation. There was nothing better than these things, and there was not a little that was much worse. A young fellow of 2 or 3 and 20 has as good a right to spoil a magazine full of essays in learning how to write, as an oculist like Wenzel had to spoil his hatful of eyes in learning how to operate for cataract, or an élégant like Brummel to point to an armful of failures in the attempt to achieve a perfect tie. This son of mine, whom I have not seen for these 25 years, generously counted, was a self-willed youth, always too ready to utter his unchastised fancies. He, like too many American young people, got the spur when he should have had the rein. He therefore helped to fill the market with that unripe fruit, which his father says in one of these papers abounds in the marts of his native country. All these bygone shortcomings he would hope are forgiven, did he not feel sure that very few of his readers know anything about them. In taking the old name for the new papers, he felt bound to say that he had uttered unwise things under that title, and if it shall appear that his unwisdom has not diminished by at least half while his years have doubled, he promises not to repeat the experiment if he should live to double them again, and become his own grandfather. Oliver Wendell Holmes, Boston.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?